in 1961, the blue-gray space capsule is ready to take its place atop the launching rocket. The flight plan calls for the Redstone to propel the chimpanzee into the heavens.
The problem with all of this is we're trying to do forensics from outside the system. We don't have people inside saying, this is why they're hiding this is why they're hiding that. And even if we did, would we believe them? A lie is different at every level, and they have their set of lies that they're being told. So to really do this, you have to rely on the evidence itself. And then you have to rank that evidence in terms of the political realities of the entire culture in which you live, i.e. the United States, or the larger culture in which we live, which is the world. And when I look at the world, and I look at what's going on right now, the most intense fractional confrontations, the reasons for more bloodletting, more slaughter, more pain, more suffering, more conflict on this planet than any other, is the religious idea that my God is bigger than your God. In fact, your God isn't anything and you aren't anything either. And when you look at the presidential debates this year, what has come to the fore? Overwhelmingly, again and again and again, the religious background of the candidates. The Founding Fathers, that whirring sound you hear in the background is the Founding Fathers spinning in their graves because they tried to set up a political system where we separated politics from religion. Politics from our metaphysical ideas of who we are, what we are doing on this planet, who our creator is, etc., etc. And what we're seeing as the 21st century evolves, even in these first few years, is a blending and a fusion of religious perspectives with the body politic. And you just look at what the schism is now that is confronting everyone, which has given us the freedom, I'm using that in quotes, to create the patriot subversions of the Constitution, to create the NSA eavesdropping. It's all about religion. It's these bad guys, those nasty terrorist Muslims, the conflict of civilizations, that those people are out to basically ultimately kill all of us. You know, the only good Muslim is a dead Muslim, which of course is what the radicals on our side are saying, even though they claim that's not what they're saying. So we're living in a levels of illusion where at the base it's all about religious difference and religious intolerance and religious obsession that my God is the only God and you deserve to be killed because you don't believe in my God. Into that mix, you introduce the idea, a la Brookings, this official NASA report, that when NASA went out into space, it would logically find evidence of possibly more advanced beings. And it's said in the charter, on the moon, Mars, or Venus. Well, advanced beings would have to be created by somebody, right? Whose God would create them? Was it your God? Was it my God? So when you go to the moon, like what I have on the screen, and as part of the Apollo program, you find what appears to be the head of a robot, a sentient being created by something greater than humankind and lesser than the angels, etc., etc. The question has to arise, who in NASA knew what when and were terrified to tell us because of the religious implications? Now, if you look at ruins on the moon, or you look at ruins on Mars, particularly if you have a mile-long face on Mars, a mile plus or minus, and it looks like us. Remember, there's this key phrase in the Old Testament, God created man in his image. Oh, wait a minute. If that's true, then what is this mile-long face doing lying on Mars? Mars isn't mentioned in the Old Testament. Who were the Martians? Were they created in God's image? Is that God's image lying in the desert? In other words, you begin to get into such levels of discourse and such levels of potential controversy and conflict and people killing each other over their version of the truth that Brookings said in 1959, and John Kennedy gave it to Congress in 1960, on April 18th. that it's better to leave all of this alone, to not let anybody know about this, because all they'll do is kill each other over whose God is behind this new version of the truth. And I think, based on history, right on CNN right now, that that's the ultimate reason, which has been used as an excuse, incidentally. It's the lie is different at every level. It's the excuse based on some stuff going on in our culture, that if in fact people were to know unequivocally that we're not the only conscious beings in the universe, the level of religious factionalism would rise to an hysteria, and we would literally dissolve in whatever conflagration you can imagine. And that a lot of good people, remember there are good guys and bad guys, a lot of good people are going along with this because in their minds, to quote, Nicholson, we can't handle the truth.